All right, let's dive into a really fascinating story about leadership. It's all about a CEO who looked at his team's struggling performance charts, and instead of seeing red ink, he saw human potential. He didn't cut his losses, he doubled down on his people.
So to really get this story, we can't start with a spreadsheet. We have to start with a person. We're going to zoom right in on one employee's very personal struggle, because that's really the heart of this whole thing.
Can you imagine this? This is the very first thing that salesperson Alejandro Ramirez says to his new coach. Not hello, not nice to meet you. He says he feels like a burden. Wow. I mean, that one sentence just tells you everything you need to know about where his head was at.
And here's why. This is the root of it all. Alejandro doesn't just feel like he's bad at sales. He feels like he isn't a salesperson, period. He tells the coach his whole identity was forged in a kitchen. So this isn't just a slump, It's a full-blown identity crisis. He feels like a total imposter in his own job.
And when you look at his journey, you see this guy's story is one of pure grit and hard work. I mean, he starts as a dishwasher at 15 and grinds his way up to sous chef. He joins this company, Trans Tools, just as a driver. But his bosses, they saw something in him, that incredible work ethic, and they're the ones who promoted him into sales. They bet on his character, not his resume.
Okay, so that's the personal side of the coin. Now let's flip it over and look at this from the manager's desk. How did the CEO, a guy named Sergio Castillo, see all this? His take was really strategic, but also, incredibly human.
And this slide just nails that disconnect perfectly. On the left, you've got Alejandro's sales chart. And yeah, it's all over the place, mostly trending down. Your average manager looks at that and thinks, okay, we need more skills training. But Sergio's diagnosis, totally different. He says his problem isn't technical, it's his self-esteem. He saw a human problem, not a numbers problem.
So you might be asking, why keep him? What on earth did Sergio see that the main chart didn't show? Well, it all comes down to this number, 80%. Yeah, Alejandro's sales volume was low, but a whopping 80% of his sales were paid right away, in cash or close to it. For any business, cash flow is everything. It's the lifeblood. So Alejandro, even while struggling, was actually critical for keeping the company's finances healthy.
And this is the turning point. Alejandro was literally ready to quit. He knew his numbers were bad, and he was ready to hand in his resignation. But Sergio doesn't accept it. Instead, he offers him a coach. And he frames it like this: we're betting on you one more time. He basically told him, we still believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself right now. What a move.
Now, this whole investment in Alejandro, it wasn't just a one-off thing. It was actually part of a really smart, targeted strategy for 3 key employees, and each one was facing a totally different kind of hurdle. Let's meet the other 2.
So first, you've got Ramiro. As you can see from his chart, this guy is a rock star, a natural. The company wants to make him the head of sales, but there's a catch. Ramiro has a bit of an ego, and he doesn't like to share his secrets to success. So his challenge wasn't about selling more, it was about learning to be a leader, a real team player.
And then there's Juan. His performance chart is a total roller coaster, right? Massive peaks followed by these deep, deep valleys. What this tells you is that the talent is absolutely there. But as Sergio put it, he gets derailed by personal stuff and a serious lack of confidence. The potential was huge, but he needed to build the kind of resilience to stay on track.
And that brings us right back to Alejandro. Seeing him next to these other 2 really highlights just how unique his problem was. It wasn't ego like Ramiro or inconsistency like Juan. For Alejandro, it was this fundamental, deep-down belief that he just didn't belong. It was a purely psychological wall he had to climb.
This table just kind of puts it all into perspective with the hard numbers. You can see Ramiro and Juan are hovering around that 70% mark of their bigger targets, while Alejandro's down at about 57% of a smaller one. This really grounds the whole story and shows you exactly why Sergio picked these 3 guys for this special kind of investment.
So what was the fix? Sergio didn't just sign them up for some generic sales boot camp. No, the coach he brought in, Aldo Rodriguez, he came up with a custom plan for each of them. And for Alejandro, he used this absolutely brilliant metaphor. First, you have to understand Aldo's whole philosophy. He believes that you just can't separate the person from the professional, especially not in sales. He says the work is emotional. So to fix a sales problem, you've got to start with the person's feelings, their emotional state. And this is where it gets so clever. Aldo finds out Alejandro was a cook, and he frames the entire sales process as a recipe. He tells him, look, you already have the most important ingredient, that work ethic of yours. The rest, the sales process, connecting with customers, getting results, those are just the steps in the recipe. This totally reframed sales for Alejandro, making it feel familiar, tangible, something he could actually do.
Okay, so let's wrap all this up and talk about the big lesson here, because it's a really powerful one for anyone who manages people.
At the end of the day, what Sergio did wasn't just a nice thing to do. It was a seriously strategic investment in human capital. He was betting on the idea that good people, people with character and drive, are worth way more than their last quarterly report. The return on investment he was after wasn't just a bigger number. It was a stronger, more confident person.
And hey, don't just take it from me. Here it is in Sergio's own words. He knew that by helping these guys get past their personal roadblocks, the business results would take care of themselves. But even more important to him was building up people he genuinely saw as valuable. It's this amazing vision of leadership that gets you a dual return, one for the business and one for the human beings making it all happen.
And so, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. The next time you see a dip on a performance chart, ask yourself, what's the real story here? Is this a technical problem that needs a quick fix, or is it a human problem that needs support and belief and maybe a leader who's willing to make one more bet? Thanks so much for tuning in.